Hi, this is Phyllis. Welcome back to Making Jewelry with me. Today's project is going to be our parallel ladder stitch bracelet, and today we're going to teach you, I'm going to expound on the right angle weave stitch technique and show you how to make this dainty double side-by-side bracelet. I hope I don't confuse you. I hope I'm a good teacher when it comes to this technique, and I hope you stick around for my materials list and to get started. The materials for the project today are our bugle beads, the 6mm in length, my 2x3mm crystals, a few size 11 seed beads. We're going to use a ruler for our measurements. I've got my 14 karat gold plated Lobster Clasp and 8mm soldered jump ring. Soldered means that it's not, you can't open it. 2 wire guardians. Today we're going to use one beading needle. This is a size 10 beading needle. Of course, my bead board. We're going to use the 6-pound fire line in the crystal color, my nippers, and the flat nose pliers for flattening the ends of the thread. I'm going to cut some of my beads open and we'll get ready to begin. I threaded my needle with 6 feet of my fire line, and I want to make sure that I have a 10-inch tail because we're going to attach the clasp later. So I've got my measuring tape out here, and I'm going to make sure, well, what I'm going to do, how we're going to begin is I'm going to string on a crystal, a bugle, a crystal, and a bugle, and I'm going to bring these beads down. I'm going to pull the thread down, and I'm going to measure to make sure that we have a 10-inch tail, because those 10 inches are what we're going to use to make our clasp. So I've got that measured here approximately, and yes, not approximately, I've got my 10 inches measured here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass my needle back through the first crystal. Actually, I'm going to go through 3 of these. The first crystal, the bugle, and the second crystal. And I'm going to pull my thread all the way down, and I'm going to double check to make sure I still have my 10 inches when I'm done. Alright, so we have our first unit for our right angle weave. I hope you guys are ready for this, because we are going to make sure, we are going to learn how to do this double project. Yes, I still have my 10 inches. Alright, very good. I can put this measuring tape away. Just want to make sure though that these beads are tightened up, that we are, as a matter of fact, I'm going to just go, the best way to make sure that you don't have any slack is to reinforce. So I'm going to reinforce this whole first unit by passing my needle through the bugle, that first seed bead that I strung, and of course in my fashion I'm going to tangle up some thread, of course. And we're going to continue passing through this bugle and finally through that top crystal. And this is our first unit. Now we're going to be going differently. We're going to do this differently than we did the crystal ladder. This is the parallel ladder that we're doing today. So now our length is going to look like this. So it's going to be repetitious until we get to our length. So I'm going to string on a bugle, a crystal and a bugle, and I'm going to, my working thread is coming out this way, and I'm going to pass my needle through the crystal, back through the crystal to go in the same direction in order to add the unit. It's going to be a little sideways, cockeyed, or whatever, something that's not offensive to people. And once you know, just try to make sure you have very little slack in your thread, and then you're going to reposition so that we can make our next unit. So we reposition by passing through that bugle on the side and by going this way through that crystal that we have on top. Again, we're going to do the same thing, but this time you see our working thread is exiting this way out of the left side of our crystal. We're still going to add the same beads. We're going to add a bugle, a crystal, and a bugle. But this time we're going to go back into the crystal this way. And we're going to pull our thread. And we're going to make sure that there's no slack here. Of course we do have slack, and we've got a little entanglement. That's not funny. We've got a little entanglement there of the threads. I shouldn't really use that word. But we have to reposition now. The third unit is done, but we can't continue until we are in the proper position. So how we do that is we pass our needle through this bugle bead on the side and left to right through the crystal on the top, and of course get tangled on everything on the side here. That'll teach me to leave those that closely. All right. Okay. And I'm going to do this with you one more time because it is repetitious. I see that I have some slack here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my dexterity. I'm going to take the working thread, and I'm going to hold on to the crystal, and I'm going to push the thread down as far as I can to make sure that there are no gaps here with what I have going on in the length. I tightened up the gap that I had, and I'm going to add another unit with you by stringing on again the same pattern: a bugle bead, a crystal, and a bugle bead. And my working thread is exiting on the right side of this crystal. I'm going to pass my needle back through the left side, going left to right, and I'm going to pull the thread to make this next unit. And we have a knot. That's not cute. That's easy to happen. But you don't want to shred your thread messing around with these bugle beads. So I'm going to pull this out. And it appears that I am making a mess, but that's all right. I'm going to take that mess out, and I'm going to pull this knot out just like that. There you go. All right. I think it's because my tail thread got caught in the way. That's absolutely what happened. And then we have our fourth unit done. In order to continue getting to our length, we have to do the same thing. It's so repetitious. We reposition by passing our needle through the bugle bead that's on the side, and through the crystal on top. Make sure that you don't have any gaps between your beads and your crystals and your thread. And that is the fourth unit. And you're going to continue doing that. It's repetitious. You make sure that your continuous unit is going to be made up of one bugle bead, one crystal bead, and one bugle bead. You're going to make sure you don't get upset if you're not passing your needle through the same side of the crystals as you go, because remember, right angle weave is about making figure eights and passing and going through your previous bead paths. You don't want to have thread showing, even though you're going to have some. You don't want to have a lot. So once I do this, I pass my strung three beads through the top crystal, and we reposition, because we can't make a new unit from here unless we are doing a specific design. So we're going to pass our needle and thread up through the bugle on the left, and get my thread, of course, caught on my bead mat. And we're going to make sure that we are in position to add the next unit by going through the crystal on top. Looks a little zigzaggy for now, or wonky, but that is going to resolve itself when we get to the more complex portion of our project. Now what you want to do here is you're going to continue to make these right angle weave units until you get to your length minus the length of your clasp. My clasp is going to be, oh no, let's see. My clasp is going to be measure this for you. It's going to be one and a half inches. So between the side with the lobster claw clasp and the jump ring, I'm going to add 1.5 inches to my length in order to get a 7.25 inch bracelet. So I need a 5 3/4 inch length to make the proper so it's not too big. I need a 5¼ inch measure of my right angle weave units in order to get to the proper length with my clasping. So what you're going to do while I'm not with you is you're going to continue this pattern until you get to the length that you need minus the length of your bracelet. So I need 5¾ inches for my bead woven units, and you have to decide how much you need. So I'm stringing on a bugle bead, a crystal, and a bugle bead, and my working thread is coming out of my crystal this way, and I want to make sure that my new unit will be exiting in the same direction. I'm going to reposition by passing my needle up through the bugle bead on the one side and through the crystal that's on the top, and one more unit before I see you at the end. I'm going to string on a bugle bead, a crystal, and another bugle bead, and this time our working thread is exiting the left side. We're going to pass our needle through the right side to the left and make the next unit, and then we're going to continue by repositioning through our bugle on the side, whichever side you're working on, and the crystal on the top. I will see you when I have 5¾ inches. I completed my 5¾ inches of my length, and it's at this point where we are going to do something that's really daring. We're going to add the first part of our clasp. So we're going to do that by, first off, if you see my working thread is exiting out of the right side of my crystal. If yours is not, just simply flip it over, or you can work with me just the way it is. So if yours is not exiting out of the right side, flip it over. That's the beauty of this portion of right angle weave. How we're going to add the first part of our clasp is by stringing on 5 of our size 11 seed beads. With the 5, I'm going to slide them down to sit next to the crystal, and I'm going to make sure that they are sitting as close to the crystal as possible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the first one, just get that right out of the way, and I'm going to pass my needle through the second seed bead, and we're going to pull the thread. I'm holding these down so that they don't get too far out of whack. And at this point, I'm going to move slowly. I'm going to proceed slowly. I want to come out of this top seed bead here, and I'm going to reposition myself by passing a needle through this side 11/0 seed bead, again I'm holding it. I'm not trying to conceal anything from you. I'm just holding it so it doesn't come apart. And now this top seed bead. Now my thread is exiting this side of that seed bead. I'm going to add my wire guardian. I'm passing my needle through the first hole of the wire guardian and around the second hole of the wire guardian, and just going to pull it so that the thread sits in a groove. So I'm going to bring my thread flush down to this seed bead. And before I continue, I want to add my clasp. Just string my clasp on and let it sit in the horseshoe portion of the wire guardian. And once there, I'm just going to pinch my thread, pinch the guardian. Oh boy, how about being in camera? Pinch the guardian. And now that I'm sitting properly again, pinch the guardian. So remember, our thread is exiting the left side of our size 11 seed bead. I passed my needle through both holes of my wire guardian, and I strung on my lobster claw, and now my thread is coming out, is exiting the right side of the wire guardian. So I'm going to pass my needle back through the right side of that size 11 seed bead and pull my thread. Look at that. I didn't make a mess. I didn't muddle it up. There you go. And so what we are going to do is always, because we are at a clasping connection, we have to always reinforce our connection. So the only thing I'm going to do is pass my needle back through the guardian on this side, through the hole of the lobster claw, and down through the other side of the wire guardian. And again through this side of the size 11 seed bead. Then I'm going to continue through this side size 11 seed bead and the bottom of this unit in that size 11 seed bead, going that way. And now the exciting stuff. We are going to work on the second side of our parallel ladder. I'm going to begin this unit. Sorry about moving my tripod and my camera. I'm going to begin this unit by stringing on one size 11 seed bead. And we're going to mirror this ladder, this side. We're going to mirror it. And how we're going to mirror it is we're just going to make it look the same way as this side. So right now I need a crystal. So I'm stringing on a crystal. I'm going to let that fall down or come down to the side. And we want to make sure that the hole of that crystal is going this way, just like the hole of this crystal here. And how we're going to do that is we're going to string on a bugle bead and one more crystal, and we're going to pull these down. And I'm going to go slowly so that you can really see exactly what I'm doing. It's not so easy to grasp this. It's like, you know, if you don't like math or, you know, angles and things like that, I'm sorry, but this is right angle weave and we have to work on our angles. So I have the beads that I need to mirror the other side. We're going to ignore the seed bead because the seed bead is just going to be a part of sizing so that we don't have a gap where our clasp is. So we're going to attach the new units to the existing units. I already have one side of my right angle weave going on, and remember, when we are doing 4-point right angle weave, we need 4 points to each unit. We have those 4 points on each of these units that we already built, and now we're going to be building the new units onto the old units. And so again, we're ignoring the size 11 seed bead because we need it for sizing, but these are the main beads that we need for our units. We have a crystal, a bugle bead, and a crystal. And because we already have one of our side units, this is where we're going to attach. So my working thread is coming out this way from left to right, and I am going to pass my needle through this bugle bead going up. I'm going to pull my thread, and remember, I am ignoring that size 11 seed bead, and the next part of our unit is the crystal. So I pass my needle through the crystal, and look at that. We have our first unit, our first parallel ladder unit here. And what we're going to do is make sure that we have no slack in our thread. Make sure that things are all tightened up and neatened up, and we have to reposition to add our next unit. Our next unit is going to be added right here. So my thread is exiting here. It's coming out of this side of the crystal, but I need to attach a unit here. So this is where you learn how to do your figure eights. And how we're going to reposition is I'm going to continue passing my needle down through this bugle bead and back through this crystal here, but we are still not in a proper place to add beads. So we have to continue moving our thread. We have to move our thread along through one more bead, and that is going to be this bugle bead here on the side. Are you confused yet? Don't worry, I'm here with you. There are some things I just can't mess up. Now, in order for us to attach the next unit is going to be right here. We just look at what you already have going. Do you see? You already have a guide. You have a crystal. So your thread is coming out of the bugle bead here, and if you were going backwards, you would be adding a crystal, but you're going forward, so you're going to add a crystal. So string on a crystal and let it fall or come down towards your work. And in order to finish your unit, you need a bugle bead. So you string on a bugle bead. So I hear somebody out there saying, Phyllis, that is crazy. You only added 2 beads to your unit. Yes, absolutely I did, because guess what? I already have 2 beads. I've got my crystal and I have this bugle bead right here. So all I needed was to add another crystal and another bugle. And where do I attach it? I go right here into this crystal. And you pull your thread. So are you really confused now? I don't blame you. However, we're going in the right direction. We have to now position our thread in order to add more beads to make more units. So my thread is exiting from this crystal here, going to the left. In order to reposition, I need to do my figure eights. I slide my thread, my needle through this bugle bead right here on the side, and through this crystal coming towards me. And I'm ready now to continue making a unit. Well, how do I know that? Well, because I have made these 2 units and now I'm missing the beads that I need for the next unit to make this parallel ladder. Well, so how do I know which beads I need? Because I'm coming out of this crystal here, and I know by looking up that I need a bead on the side and a bead on the bottom. Those beads are going to be, I'm stringing on 1 bugle bead and 1 crystal. Well, what do I do now? Well, this is what you do. You bring those beads down so you can see what you're looking at to make it easier for yourself. And you just place them where they need to be. And that also means that you know in which direction to move your thread and where you know where you're going to move it to. So my thread is exiting this crystal here, and I need to attach my new unit to this existing unit. So I'm going to pass my thread, needle and thread up this bugle bead and pull my thread, and that unit is attached, but I need to be in position to continue adding units. So I'm going to pass my needle through this crystal coming this way, and then pass my needle down through this bugle bead, through this crystal, going this way, and down through this bugle bead in order to attach our next unit. I have to point something out to you. Right angle weave is beautiful for a number of reasons. When you are doing your right angle weave units, you're always going to have a bottom, 2 sides, and a top. The whole orientation of the beads is going to be there. When you're looking at this, the whole orientations of these bugle beads, that's really the reason I'm using them, is your bottom, of course, is going to be going horizontally, and your top will be going horizontally, and your sides are going to be going vertically. So you'll know what you're doing. You're going to know that you're doing the right thing as long as you know that you're using to use 4 points for each unit. I'm going to continue now to add units. You may know what you're doing already. So how do I add a unit? I'm already in position to add the new unit to this existing unit. So I'm going to string on a crystal and a bugle bead. And if you're not sure where you're going or what you're doing, let those beads come down to your work and put them and place them where you need to see them. So now you know that you're gonna pass your needle through this crystal going in this direction, and down through this bugle bead, and this way through this crystal. So it looks like my crystals are my side beads in this project. My crystals are my side beads because their holes are moving vertically, and the bugles are the ceiling and the floor because their holes are oriented horizontally. So now I'm in position to add my next unit. What do I need to do? I need to find one of my ceiling or floors, which is a bugle bead, slide that down and add on a crystal and let it slide down, and pass my thread through through this bugle bead, the roof, and pull the thread. And be careful, because these bugle beads are really sharp and they will cut your thread. Make sure you help to move them into place. And we're going to pass our needle through our crystal, coming this way. And down or through the floor here, and then my side, which is that crystal bead. And one more, we have to keep going so that we can be in position. I have to go through that bugle bead in order to be in position to add a new unit. And let's take a look. Let's see how our threads are looking. You don't see any threads moving through these areas here. You just have them going into the bugles and the crystals, and we don't have our thread exposed. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do this unit. I'm going to just string on a crystal, string on my crystal and my bugle bead, and I'm going to pass my needle through this crystal, going on the side here, and to get into position to add our next unit, I'm going to pass the needle through here, this bugle bead, and here through this crystal. And I am going to let you continue doing your work. Actually, let me just do this with you. I'm going to string on now a bugle bead and a crystal, and my thread is coming out of this crystal here. I'm going to pass my needle up, and I'm going to pull my thread to attach my next unit. I'm going to move my needle, continue moving through this crystal, and this bugle, this crystal, and this bugle. Okay, from here we're going to add a crystal, string on a crystal and a bugle bead, and we're going to pass our thread through this crystal and down this bugle. I keep saying down. No, it would be down the crystal and up the crystal. We're going to go through and then down this crystal. To continue our next unit, I'm going to string on a bugle bead and a crystal and pass my needle through this bugle bead here. Down this crystal. Through this bugle bead. Up this crystal. And through this bugle. Okay, now I'm going to pause myself and I'm going to let you continue. If you have trouble remembering or figuring it out, you just rewind to where you need to be, and I will see you when I get to the end of my length. I'm at the end of my length, and as you can see, my thread is exiting here out of this bugle bead here, and I strung on a crystal and a bugle, and I'm going to complete this unit by passing my needle through this crystal here. I'm going to pass my needle through that bugle there on the side, and back through this crystal, through this bugle, through this crystal here, down or through this bugle, up this crystal, through this bugle, and we're going to do a little funky move now. We're going to take this tail thread that we saved to make our clasp, and I'm going to pass it just without putting a needle on it. If you can't do this without putting a needle on it, then just get a needle and add it, attach it, and pass your thread through. Right, now we're going to tie these threads in a knot, and the reason we have to do this is because of positioning. So we're going to tie our knot, and do it again. And I'm going to now thread my needle onto this tail thread that we saved for making our clasp. So I'm using my flat nose pliers to flatten down my round fire line. I'm just going to thread the needle there. And now take my needle and pass it up or through the bugle bead and this crystal. The way that the needle is tied, the way that the knot is tied, you may be able to see your knot, but all you got to do to remedy that is pull the knot through the bugle bead, and you won't be able to see the knot. And we're still going to work with our working thread because we're going to do some reinforcing, but right now we're just going to add the clasping. And how we do that is get some more of our seed beads. We're going to string on 5 seed beads. And we're going to let those seed beads come down, and we're going to skip that first one that we added and just go through this second seed bead right here. And when you pull your thread, you want that orientation, that whole orientation, to be horizontal. You see, it's horizontal. And what we're going to do is reposition by passing your thread up through, the needle up through that side seed bead and through that top seed bead there. We're now going to finish. We're going to do the second part of our connection, our clasping, by stringing on a wire guardian and string it on in the first hole, and we go around through the second hole and pull down, and we're going to pass our jump ring in there and let it sit in the horseshoe, and we're going to pinch that horseshoe shut so that the jump ring does not fall through. And where we are right now is we are exiting this side of our seed bead, and we're going to go back through. And what we want to do is reinforce our connection by passing our needle through that wire guardian and through your jump ring, and down the second hole of the wire guardian, and this side of the jump ring. Well, and you should have a secure connection. Make sure that your thread is resting in the groove of the wire guardian, and what you're going to do is continue passing your thread needle down through the side seed bead and in this bottom seed bead here. And what we're going to do again now is string on one size 11 seed bead and pass your needle right through this next crystal. And you have the second side of your clasping complete. You want to continue passing your needle down through that bugle bead. And through this crystal. And be careful to make your figure eights. And through this bugle. Up through this crystal. Through this bugle. Down this crystal. Through this bugle. And I think that's good, and we can make a knot here. So my thread is exiting this bugle bead, and you can see your little diamond of thread here. And what we'll do is I'll pass my needle up under that bugle bead and that thread there, you see, just like that, and pull this thread and pull up a loop. You want to make a nice dainty small loop like this, and pass your needle through the loop once, twice, and pull that down until you have a knot there, and move your needle through this crystal, this bugle, this crystal, bugle, and we're going to do another knot. Thread is exiting this bugle. We're going to slide our needle up under that bugle and that thread bridge and pull up a loop and pass our needle through that loop twice and pull down, and you have another knot there. And keep moving your needle and thread through your crystal, through your bugle, your crystal, and bugle, making sure that you never have threads just going straight through from bugle to bugle and crystal to crystal. And once you get here, I think that's pretty secure. You can take your needle off the thread and place it back on your original working thread, and you can do the same thing, reinforce and making sure that you have a nice sturdy piece of jewelry. Same thing. We are coming out of this bugle bead, and we're going to go through the crystal. Remember, there's already a knot there because we tied those together so that we could get into position. We tied those two threads together to get into position to add the second part of the clasping. So we're going to just keep moving our thread. We're going to keep moving, and we're going to try to use up as much of this thread as possible so that our bracelet is reinforced all the way through. And once you get through a few, you make a few, you tie a few knots, and you don't do like I do and pull your needle off of your thread. You're going to tie a few knots, and then when you're comfortable, when you are sure that it is secure, you stretch it out, you pull it a little bit, and you make sure that it looks as neat as you want it to look. And if you need to pull a few threads, you do that. But otherwise, that's it. That's our bracelet parallel ladder. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.